Good morning, fellow firewood lovers. This is Chris, and we're in the wood yard again. Today is going to be a pretty nice day. It quit raining finally. Yesterday it rained for, I don't know, like 10, 12 hours, something like that, off and on, and we had a couple periods where it was just pouring out. I tried to split in the morning for, I don't know, I was out here maybe an hour and a half, a little more than that. Didn't get a lot done, but I got soaking wet, so I went inside and worked. But today is going to be better because it cleared off during the night. There's just a few clouds in the sky now. The winds picked up dramatically, and it did cool off a bunch. Yesterday it was about 52 degrees. Right now it's about 32 degrees. And we're going to do some splitting today. I've got one big pile and one small pile to finish. And I have a question I was going to ask because somebody commented about the size of the wood that I have. As you can see, the wood I have is all split down so that it's no thicker than 3 inches. The reason I do that, well, I have 2 reasons. Number one is that's what my customers want. When I first started doing firewood, selling firewood, about 6 years ago, I sold the same size pieces that I had cut for myself because I had extra, and that was big stuff, things that were either halves or just quarters of big rounds. And the reason I did that is because I had grown up heating with firewood, and so that's the size of wood that we always had, was just big chunks. And because you wanted it to last a long time, because we were using a big wood stove. And then I helped my brother cut some firewood over the years, and he heats with wood also, and he has a boiler, so he wants real big stuff. And so I delivered the first few loads that I had sold, and it was big pieces, and people commented about how big it was. If they needed to split it down, I said, well, no, it'll burn just fine like that. They were saying, well, it's so big. Well, then I had a few more people saying, well, this is really big, and it's for the fireplace. And as I sold and delivered wood, I realized that the vast majority of my customers are people that are not heating with wood. They're just burning wood for enjoyment or for some extra room warmth in their fireplace. So I would say it's a good 90 to 95% of the people I sell to, it's for a fireplace, and they don't want big, huge monster pieces. They want small pieces. They want the pieces you can easily pick up with one hand, or have an armful of 6, 7 pieces that's enough for the night when they bring it in or in their carrier. Most of the people that I sell to, it's the wives or the girlfriends or the woman of the house is the one that's making the fire. And they comment all the time about how they really like the size of the wood that I sell, because it starts easier for them. It is easier for them to handle. They get better flame out of it, because if you got real big pieces and you've got a small firebox or fireplace, you can only get in 1 or 2 pieces, so you're not going to get a lot of flame from it. Yeah, it's going to burn longer, and that's just the way it is. So what they want is the smaller pieces, and I'll show you some over here. So you can see by the size of these how big they are. And you can see over here, this is another pile that I have that's all the pieces that are cut down, so they're not super huge. Now my brother gives me a hard time about my firewood. He calls it oversized kindling, and some of you probably think the same thing. But the reason is that his customers are totally different. He lives in northern Wisconsin, and he sells to people that are heating their houses with wood, and they want big pieces. So I would say 90% of his customers are heating their house with wood, or they're heating their garage and they have a big wood stove and they want big chunks. I don't get hardly any of those people. I might have 10 to 15 people a year that heat with firewood. And I do have some pieces. I have a pile back over there I cut last fall, and it was half a truckload, and that I split into bigger chunks. So the people that specifically want those, that's where I'll get that wood from. And then what I do now is with this pile that I've got back over here, I'll show you, I'm bringing it over this way. This pile over here is a lot of barkless oak. As you can see, it's older stuff, and a lot of this is already, you can see it's, if you look close, you can see it's kind of checked, and it's getting to the point where it's starting to get, like here's one down here too, this one. You can see this will be dry when I split it. So I will split those into bigger chunks, so I do have some larger all-nighters. And then what I do is, as I'm splitting, I throw the stuff over here into this pile that is the stuff that needs to be stacked and dried and seasoned. And then the wood that I split, I covered this the other day when I was splitting, the wood that I split that is dry, I throw into another pile over here. You can see this stuff here is bone dry already. So when I split it open, I know. So I make a separate pile for that. And then all that wood will be either sold immediately, excuse me, or it'll just be left into bigger chunks. So if I have someone that wants some larger pieces, I have that for them. So in the comments, why don't you write down what kind of customers you have, what size of wood you have, if you're selling wood, and or if you're just cutting for yourself, or if you're heating with wood, or if it's for a fireplace, what you usually sell. Be interesting to know, just kind of what people do. But for my customers, that's what they want. So we're going to do some splitting now. Here we go. Okay, so one of the things I forgot to mention was the second reason. The second reason is I try to turn my wood over every year completely, which means everything I cut this year, I want to sell next year. So if I have big, huge pieces, as you know, especially if you've got oak or hickory, wood that dries very slowly, it takes longer to dry. The big chunks like my brother sells, he has to dry them for 2 years because they won't be completely dry. I want this stuff to all be dry for next year, and by cutting it a little bit smaller like that, it ensures that it's going to be dry, fully seasoned, ready to burn, so that it's not sizzling and doing the slow burn smoke. I have a lot of customers that when I get there, they will have wood in their garage, and just ask them if they're stocking up, or that they're getting extra. And I get a comment quite often like, no, we bought this wood last week, but we can't get it to burn, because they're buying it from people that are cutting it and selling it right away. And I said, well, did they tell you it was seasoned or fully dried? And most often they'll say, well, yeah, they said they cut it a while ago and it's ready to burn now, it's dry and seasoned. And I've looked at some of that wood, and I can tell it was green wood that was literally cut a week, 2, maybe a month before, and it just will not burn. So I was telling them, well, the good news is next year you'll have dry wood because it's in a garage covered and they've got it stacked and everything. So it will dry out. It will be able to be used eventually, but not to use it because obviously it's not going to burn, and you get creosote buildup if you try to burn wet wood. So that's the other main reason is that I want them to be able to burn it right now. And that's probably the number one question I get when a first-time customer will call me. Is it dry? Is it ready to burn? Is it fully seasoned? I get that all the time. So I explain that in my ad, and whenever I comment, whether I'm texting them or talking to them on the phone, I always tell them it was cut a year ago, or it was cut 14 months ago, or 16 months ago. It has all been stacked on pallets. It's been covered, and it was it's dry and ready to burn. So that's the other main reason, is that I want it to be ready to burn. So now we'll do some splitting. Okay, I got this pile completely done. So yesterday and then this morning I finished right here, and I just cleared out all these beams and stuff I have right here up on top and the pallets, because they're all right in this area here. They're all kind of frozen in, but I knocked them loose. So I got all this area cleaned up. So now I'm going to start splitting here, and I'm going to chuck it here and just keep the pile on this direction over here, and then work my way that way, because as I go that way, as you can see, I've got the two piles, and because there's two piles and I got to put it all on this side, it's going to take up a lot of space. And I've thought I was going to keep it separate, but there's not that much dry stuff in these in the barkless oak. It's actually, a lot of it's pretty wet, so I am separating out the dry stuff as I go, but I'm just going to mix it all together because it's all going to be split down. It'll be dry by next year anyway, so that's the plan. So we're going to get back to splitting. Here we go. Well, that is it. I am done for the day. I think I split for about 9 hours today. Could be a little more, could be a little less, I'm not sure. I feel like it. I'm tired. Back's tired. I'm hungry. I think it's time to call it. So here is what I got done today. There was the pile back here. That's what's left. This right here, I'll finish that tomorrow in the morning. And right here is what I just did. Everything from right here all the way down to here, and then some of this pile I did this morning too. So yeah, this is the stuff I cut the other day. So it's starting to make a pile, and I'm getting there, but I still have a lot to go. I still gotta, there's 2 rows here. This is just one of them I'm walking past. All has to be cut, all has to be split, all has to be stacked. And there's the other row back there, right there. So anyway, there's plenty to do. I will be working on this probably for the next 2 to 3 weeks, I'm thinking. That's about what I'm thinking it's gonna take, a bunch. So thanks for watching, and I will be back tomorrow. Same wood time, same wood channel. Right now you're going to poke a button or two, because I know you like to. If you like and subscribe, you'll be an awesome person, because you are. Irene, I think, is calling me. I think she's saying good night. So I got to go see Irene. Good night.